I always like to ask because I'm in education, and this sounds a little confusing, but what's the last thing that you learned for the first time? So, what's the last thing that you have learned that's something new that you've learned for the first time, that you've put yourself in a position of being a learner?
You can see us.
Anybody would like to share? I think I can see all of you thinking.
I learned that an old garage door spring is not meant to be in two pieces. And so I've learned how the cable system works to bring up your garage door. These are not glamorous learnings. This is probably not what you were going for, Chair, but that's what I have learned yesterday and today.
I think
Good.
I think that is
Yes.
actually excellent and to the point.
Chair, we're ready.
Oh,
I'm sorry
okay.
to interrupt.
And we are at 12 minutes. So okay. So we're going to leave that as a cliffhanger. Um, if we have another
Cliffhanger.
tech moment, or definitely at our next opportunity to get together. And I think in really as we come together, um, in the spirit of that question, right? In the work that we do, that we are, I think, constantly asking ourselves, what are we learning to do? And often for the first time, because being involved in the work of charter schools, charter development, community advocacy and work, it really is often the path of the unknown and learning things for the first time. So I hope that you all are engaging in that and sets the tone, I think, for today. So with that, thank you all again for being there. I know we have some folks in person, so thank you there for everyone being on site. Thank you for everyone joining on Zoom today as we could just have another opportunity to get together. Uh, I would like to specifically just welcome all of our board members that we see and we did our USBE liaison, Rod Hall, who thank you for joining from your car. We really appreciate that and just being present. We just appreciate all of you and the insights that you bring. I'd like to pass it to the room with folks that are in person. Dr. Kramer, would someone like to lead the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm gonna
great.
get close to it so the owl might pick me up then. I pledge
Okay.
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wonderful, thank you. With that, do we have any public comment?
Did you not?
Okay. And with that, I would like to move that we have our consent calendar. All of these cases, these three cases and their charter agreements, the authorization committee has had a chance to review and they recommend approval. This was sent out in the board materials. I'd like to request a motion, but also if anyone has any comments or anything related to the consent calendar.
Chair, I would just move that we separate from the consent calendar the American Principals Academy piece so that we could vote on that separately.
Okay, that sounds great. So we will go ahead and we will pull off. I'm just taking a look at that. Great. The APA Cedar City okay, perfect. I see that that's B on our consent calendar.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I'm just abstaining from the voting on that. So I was
perfect.
hoping to separate that out so that I can vote on the others and the rest of the board can vote on that one.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Vice Chair. Okay, so with that, we're going to go ahead and pull off the item B from our consent calendar so we can vote on that separately. So if we could potentially I'd like to entertain a motion for the consent calendar for A and C on the consent calendar.
I move that we approve those, Chair.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Thank you, Member Biesinger. And then any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, that passes. And then if we could entertain a motion just for the item B of the Cedar Charter Holder APA Cedar City to the Utah Charter Academies Charter Agreement.
Chair, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve that as it was described on the consent calendar, item B.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Great. Any other discussion? Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you. And just noting that Vice Chair Olson has abstained from that. So that passes. Thank you all so much for moving through that. And we're going to go ahead now and we have a discussion and an action item. This is a readiness to open report from Thrive Point Academy. And as a reminder, we had an opportunity to hear from Thrive Point at our meeting about 10 days ago. And this is the bulk of our meeting today. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Director Kramer we'll set the tone and provide some more background as we move forward into this discussion and vote.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I just want to thank the team for the technology work that we do. Amber on her PTO fielded a call and helped us. And then we have redundancy with our team now having not just Amber, but other members of our team getting the training and equipping. And yeah, we started a little bit late, but we're flowing really good now. So I just want to really shout out and thank you for your hard work on it. Also want to just say today present, we have Dr. Evans, Shannon Smith, representatives for Learning Matters and for Thrive Point. These two individuals and the entire team, including Utah representatives and employees, have been professional, organized, responsive, and engaged since the last board meeting. And the way that we've crafted this particular agenda item, along with the executive committee, is that staff, myself, along with Smriti, who's been very instrumental in doing some analysis and other things, will present. But both Dr. Evans, Shannon Smith are here to answer questions. So before I head right into the presentation, just turn it over to either one of you if you wanted to say hi to our board, and then I'll start with the presentation.
Yeah, just thank you for letting us come back. We're excited to be here. We're excited to report the progress that we've made over the last few weeks. And if you're happening to attend the Riverton Rodeo tonight, Earthquake the Bull is going to be having his debut performance. So come see us. We have a booth there. So that, yeah.
I just want to say thank you for having us return and for considering the work that we've put forward to have you guys review for this second time we've come in front of you for our readiness report.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Associate Executive Director Stephenson. You've been very helpful leading up to this and then the last couple of weeks of work. So while I'm presenting, Ms. Stephenson has been hugely involved in this. So the first slide just shows what we're doing, just to remind our board, and it's the board certification requirement. A charter school may receive the state funds, including minimum school program funds, if the charter school certifies in writing to the superintendent by June 30th, before the school's first operational year. There's a whole bunch of letters that come before G as a reminder to our board. Thrive Point has satisfactorily done all of those things. And the single thing for the board's consideration was G, which is that charter schools enrollment is on track to be sufficient to meet the school's financial obligations and implement the charter school agreement. And so that's the emphasis of the presentation. There'll be other parts, of course, but that's the last piece, so to say. So slide 2. With slide 2, what these just icons and the little words underneath it say, is that, again, the key metric or the key confidence level, however you want to think about it, that we're focused on then is enrollment. That is the centerpiece for the deficiency, and that's the centerpiece for our board to consider. And so Thrive Point's readiness centers on enrollment and the evaluation of the school's on track to meet financial obligations and determining readiness to implement its charter agreement. So that's restating what I stated in the first slide, but our board, rightfully so, had a lot of work for us to do as staff to kind of work through the enrollment deficiency and understand it and analyze it. And so there were other pieces to this as well that I will be presenting on, but first the enrollment. So next slide, please. You probably picked up in some of the narratives that the school sent in after our meetings that the enrollment was going well. You know, if we take a look and compare with where we were at May 29th or thereabouts, there was 11 students. These were actually enrolled students. And the day of the meeting, there was reports of 24, and that would have been then on June 12th. On June 20th already, there was a significant increase to 54 students. You can see on the bottom of this that we tracked it every day then, both on Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and even today before the meeting. And so you can see it continues to trend upwards. 52 became 54 on Monday, and then 54 became 68 on Tuesday, and 68 became 70 on Wednesday. And then I hear this morning, although I didn't put eyes on it, but I know it's very credible, 72 actually enrolled students. And part of this work involved going into PowerSchool with the school. So it's not just a number reflected on an Excel spreadsheet or in a narrative somewhere, but along with the teams, Brady, specifically, we looked at actual names and actual enrolled students, and we're able to validate and verify these enrollment numbers and the trend, the upward trend that we're seeing. So this is positive information for enrollment. I want to add a few more things about enrollment, is that in working with the school, we've really come to understand that this model of education, and our board was already talking this way in the last meeting, but that enrollments can come late for a model like this. While Utah doesn't have alternative education per se, this is an option that really students can come for emergency or urgent educational needs. Therefore, that's why students typically enroll. And so I think staff really came to understand that point as we worked with the school the last couple of weeks. It was already there, but it solidified for us that this particular model does trend this way. And I think if you review the narrative, you'll see that in Arizona, there is a school that has 50 to 75 students, sustainable with a number that they're representing here. So those are some of the things that I wanted to talk about, this most central issue, which is enrollment. And board, of course, jump in if you have questions, and if not, bear with me. It's about 10 more minutes, I think, this present, just kind of a download of information and of presentation. So I'll move into the next slide if you're okay with that. Oh yeah, just understanding this pattern. You know, because you kind of ask yourself, well, how do we get from 11 to 72 in a short amount of time? They were describing that funnel. So certainly in the last meeting, we had an expert, a professional from Thrive Point and Learning Matters that talked about that funnel and how some were almost fully enrolled. But I will say, in addition to that, we have learned of some incredible face-to-face outreach. This type of outreach is boots on the ground, like hard work because you have to set up the booth, you have to have the swag available, you have to talk to people. And I know that the principal, professionals were heavily involved in booths and local events, talking to media even and generating some media, going to apartment complexes. So we were able to verify not just like digital touch points, which are super important, but also physical touch points. I've already talked about how this model attracts students with urgent crisis needs. So many enroll late, but it doesn't hurt to underscore that point. And then this is comparable then to alternative education, which is not formally recognized in Utah. Next slide, please. That's just a picture at one of the events more recent. There were other slides, some involved children. I don't know if we had permission to share those out or not, so I decided not to include. I like the ones with children a lot better. They're just more engaging, but you can see this is a physical booth set up over the weekend, working late into a Friday night to enroll more students. Next slide, please. The board as a whole, as an entire board at the last meeting requested some items. These items include a break-even budget from the Thrive Point. You have seen that come through and it does reflect 70 students. Maybe you've had a chance to review it. If not, Sriti will take us through a high-level pass-through on that. The staff, you asked us to analyze that school budget, and we certainly did challenge assumptions, and we worked through different line-by-line items, and we may not be able to give a full present on that, but it was a rigorous analysis, both independent and with the school. You also asked us to engage in developing a break-even model of our own. It looks very close and resembles the school's break-even. And Smriti again will explain why. You asked us for some to kind of get the loan, and it's actually a line of credit. And so through our work with them, which we find to be favorable, a line of credit is something you don't have to tap into, but it's there if you need it. And so we're going to just talk high level about how it's favorable terms and some other high level details. You asked about signed and pending MOUs, which we're going to briefly present on, and then also documented commitments already made. We'll have one or two slides at the end of this present, which also capture just an individual board member's thoughts. I'll just say member Biesner had some additional questions that he wanted to kind of vet out, and staff took that work seriously. And we worked with the school to go through a Q&A on that we won't be able to go through that entire email, but we'll be able to provide a high level summary. And so with the next slide, I'd like to then turn it over to Smriti, who did an excellent job with some of these different items the board asked us to work on.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning, everyone. So we looked into the updated budget that was provided by the school team with 70 number, as break-even number. And we met with the school a few times to go over some of the questions that we had based on the assumptions that, the school had. We just reached out and we met with them, and and I'm going to just highlight some of the areas that we looked into, and we brought up with them and the explanation that they provided. So some of the areas that we looked into, the first one being the interest on debt and redemption of principal, which you can see on the original budget that they submitted, which amounts to approximately $79,000. And the thing that we noticed is it was not included in their updated budget with 70 number of kids. And then we reached out to them and they explained that because the assumption is that the payments to the Learning Matters are deferred until the school is in financially stable condition, making financially able to make the payments. And again, like Paul mentioned, they provided us with a narrative and a copy of the promissory note that can be renegotiated by the board of the Thrive Point Academy, if necessary, to maintain financial stability. And another line item that we inquired about was the salaries, and then the number of teachers and the paraprofessionals. So the original application had like 6 teachers and 4 aides, whereas adjusted budget had only 2 teachers and 1 aide. And also we saw like reduction in salary for each of these, individuals. And we asked them, if it was a reasonable change, and will they be able to provide all the programs with such cuts, in the salaries.
And real quick, just that the parapro is actually a coach in their model. And so that's one thing that we kind of talked through. And also that the principal of the administrator also does provide some instruction and in this particular break even. And so those are some additional things.
Yeah, thanks. And then, they mentioned that they have a team, including coach, paraprofessionals, campus leaders, and teachers. And they are confident that they will be able to function with less number of teachers. And again, they provided us with a narrative of operating school with 50 to 75 students, with having 2 teachers and 1 coach and 1 campus leader in Arizona for a number of years. Moving on to another line item that we questioned about was the rental of land and buildings. We saw that it got reduced by about 21,000 compared to the original budget versus the updated one. And again, they mentioned that now that they have leased property and, they had been overestimated to be conservative in their expenditures in the original budget, and they have real fixed numbers now. And moving on to the other item, which is textbooks, we saw that, there is no amount allocated for textbooks in the updated budget. And they mentioned that they've now, that they utilize a digital curriculum with contracts managed through Learning Matters to secure the best pricing across all their schools. And so for Utah, there'll be no curriculum fees in the first year. And then the other line item that we questioned about was the purchase professional and technical services, which is operation and maintenance of facilities. We saw that, it was 50,000 in the original budget versus $0 at the updated one. And then the reasoning that they provided is that the original budget was based on, again, estimates and guesses. So they put 50,000 in that line item there. And as they have been operating, they've seen that they don't need that much money there. So they also changed category of things, differently once they actually started operating. So yeah, so based on, these assumptions, these reasonings that we heard from the school side, and, we came up with our own break-even enrollment,
Next slide.
Yeah, as
And just to kick this off, I know Smriti, we kind of tag teaming, work together. One of the things that we noticed in the application is that there was we'll call it contingency of like a 2% with the break-even budget. And the school's break-even budget actually got them to 0. So we adjusted a few things in our own break-even budget. Smriti's going to represent that those weren't major changes because we had analyzed and challenged a lot of assumptions. But we really were looking for how could a break-even achieve at least a small contingency, so to say. And so we now have a 2% in the staff's break-even budget compared to the school's break-even, which had a 0. It's small, but it was just one of the things that we felt was important, given the margins can be a little tight. You want a little bit of wiggle room, even if it's a couple of tens of thousands of dollars. And so that kind of kicks off that first icon, and I'll hand it back to you, Smriti.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, so our budget that you guys, I guess, looked at is pretty similar to, what they have presented, their updated budget. But again, that was based on our discussion with them and an understanding of how they got into those numbers. So yeah, it looks pretty close to what they have, but we thought it was reasonable given the information that was shared by the school. And yeah, that's all I have.
Great. And some of the other adjustments were from 70 to 72. And then also there was an added cost of 25,000, we thought important to just kind of add
Yeah,
in.
the professional,
Yep.
yes, and technical service, yeah.
And a
thank
couple
you.
other minor things here and there. And as Smriti says, it closely mirrors the school's budget. And it's one that we think works. And so moving to the next slide, we're nearly done with staff presentation. You had asked about the loan. And this is actually a line of credit. Again, I've mentioned that once, but it doesn't hurt to state it again. This is 1.3 million. It was 2 million at the last meeting. I think 1.3 million seems like a nice number. 2 million is a lot to borrow, even 1.3. But nonetheless, it ended up being an unsecured line of credit available. They do not think that they'll need to tap into it given their break-even budget, but it is nice to have that line of credit available. If you had a chance to look at it, because it's been provided to the board, you'll see that there are favorable terms, including the rate, and then the repayment structure up to and including a possible addendum that the school has used in the past for similar startup operations. And then that repayment actually would defer until the next fiscal year if needed. Also as a documentation for our board to consider, is this isn't just a concept. This is a concept that was prepared by their legal counsel, vetted with the board, and ready to use and be executed if and when needed. I don't think it's the board's decision at the school, but based on the break even, the enrollment trend, and other things, and talking to the school, doesn't seem like they may need it. And even the startup funding through October, their October 1 numbers are higher. And so they're going to get some good cash flow at the beginning. So I just wanted to note that. The next slide talks then about the MOUs with referral schools. When we talk to Itinerus Early College about the MOU, they talk about how rigorous and in-person the program of study is at Itinerus. And there very well could be students that are enrolled in Itinerus's program that through this MOU, it just may not be a perfect fit. And they may be looking for an alternative or an option. And they believe that there'll be some referrals that go from Itinerus to Thrive Point. And they talked about the demands. We had a chance to talk to Itinerus a little bit more about that. They also have another one that's nearly done. It's not signed, and that one, the school says, you know what, students may not know that they have to actually engage in farming at our school, and they have to get involved, like they have to be present, and they may not realize that. And if they don't realize that, and then they're looking for an alternative education, if the MOU is signed, we would start to kind of move students towards Thrive Point's program. Before I get to Mountain Heights Academy, because we do have a guest that's going to speak to us briefly about Mountain Heights MOU, I just wanted to say that there are no MOUs with districts like the Jordan. It was raised in the last meeting. That's a tough MOU to sign for a district. But I can tell you that the school is making inroads with counselors at the districts, and that those counselors recognize that there could be a real opportunity for students to refer to a program and a model like Thrive Point. And so while we won't see any, they're close. I wanted to turn it over to Dr. Delana Tonks, who I believe is on this call. I think that she can speak to the Mountain Heights Academy better than we could present on it. So Dr. Tonks, if you're on the call, we kind of built you into the present a little bit.
I'm here. Thank you, Dr. Kramer, and appreciate the opportunity to address the board, coming back to old friends and seeing some new ones as well. I just wanted to speak to, first of all, the Mountain Heights Academy MOU. We have students that come to our online school. We have 1,700 full-time and part-time students all over the state of Utah. And occasionally this is not the right fit for them and they need some additional hands-on help. We have partnered with Thrive Point, signed an MOU, and plan on sending students to Thrive Point throughout the year. So that's the first point. Second point, I want to speak to to the charter landscape. Every district student has access to an alternative option built into their district schools. Charter students do not have that same equitable access. Thrive Point fills that gap so that if a student is not performing well and not finding success in whatever charter setting they're currently in, Thrive Point provides that opportunity for them. So that student then has an opportunity to recoup credits to be able to find success, and will help the graduation rates of all charter schools across the state, not just Mountain Heights and those that have signed MOUs, because those students have a place to go. Now, when I was on the state charter board, I was the queen of enrollment drives funding, which drives school success. And those of you that served with me can just nod your heads in assent. That was my drumbeat. With this situation with Thrive Point, the calculus is different. There are multiple factors to take into consideration. This is a win for students. It's a win for charter schools. The rewards outweigh the risk, and I strongly encourage you to support Thrive Point's opening, not just for Thrive Point, but for the students across the state and all charter schools. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Tonks. Well said, and we appreciate you engaging in this. So the board has those MOUs. If they aren't signed, they are executed. The partners are confirming the referrals and the demand. And this is a different rigorous model of support. And then Mountain Heights shared their comments. So I just want to make sure I got through that particular slide. I think it's the last slide, or one of the, almost. There are a couple of commitments. The leased building is a 7-year term with stable payments. It's not like it starts low the first year and then escalates. The staff is hired, they're valued, they're high quality, and they feel fairly compensated for the work that they're doing. They're on board. And so those are commitments. And then there are some financial systems and other operational systems like Power School, right? That's paid for, because if we don't have Power School, we can't get the enrollment. So there are some commitments in place, but there's still been flexibility, which is why you've seen them. It's scaled back to 70 as a break even. And then the last slide. Oh, not quite. Board member questions were addressed. In particular, there were some questions around, would the school be willing to delay or to close if it wasn't viable? You know, like we wouldn't have to force the issue. And I could tell you, in asking leadership, they're affirmed and they're fully committed to doing what's right and to be a good steward of taxpayer dollars. And I feel very confident that they would come to this board and do the right thing. And I also am confident our board would provide the support to do the right thing. So years 1 through 3 budgets and enrollment, they really want to trend towards what was approved. And so there isn't a difference, 2 years, 3 years, while it may seem aspirational, we can see that they can find ways to be flexible and make things work. But they would return as quickly as they can to the 1 to 3 year budgets and enrollments that you see and has been approved in the application. Now, last slide. So staff does feel positive and is felt to present the case positively, especially in regards to enrollment, especially in regards to the questions that the full board asked, and then even some more detailed questions that an individual board member asked, which all were really answered well. So I think that executive committee asked maybe we put, if we do a motion, no matter how you lean, so we're stopping short as a recommendation as staff. We're putting this back to our board to do this work. You can discuss and decide. But a motion in the positive makes sense. And so this is a suggested board motion. And it's to the affirmative, just because I think vice chair, so that's a good motion to have, is in the affirmative. Otherwise you get double negatives and triple negatives and all kinds of stuff. So that concludes the presentation. I'm available to answer questions, Smriti, Marie, board members. So give it back to you, Chair, for discussion and then possible motion.
Thank you so much for this thorough presentation from all staff. I think we definitely appreciate the level of depth and the additional information that will help us make an educated vote about Thrive Point. I would like to open it up to other board members for questions to
Sorry about the back seat, guys.
Oh, sorry, Rod.
Sorry.
No worries. That was a great timing and no problem. But I would like to open it up to board members and for questions and discussion and a potential motion. Member Biesinger, I see that you're unmuted. I'd like to start with you
Okay.
I'm guessing that's why you're unmuted. Yeah.
Thank you. I do have a few. I also just want to quickly say I appreciate Thrive Point's back and forth. From what I understand, they've just given this full attention and been very attentive to staff questions and just to all the questions that have been asked. And I'm also encouraged to see the enrollment, which I understand in real time is up around 70 students now, which is, I think, good. My questions are kind of in two areas, if I could. The first is with respect to the break-even budget, and I'm not trying to relitigate this charter. I just want to focus on a couple of things I kind of identify with readiness to open. One is with staffing. So if we're going to be ready to open, we're going to have proper staffing. In the break-even budget I saw, it showed 4 full-time staff. I think I'll call it a director. I don't know if that's the title. They call it a coach or a support person, then 2 full-time teachers. So that's 2 teachers and 1 other support person along with the director for what will now be, let's call it 70, 75 students. I know that this is this program is described as a rigorous support program. I just want to understand whether it comes from staff or from the school, how what the plan is to cover these amount of students that are in a high need situation with the existing staffing. Let me give you my other staffing question, and then you can just kind of answer them. The other thing is as I looked at this, it looks like staffing is currently about 30% of your overall budget. In my analysis of charter schools, that's pretty low. And it doesn't mean it's not doable, but it means it's pretty low. Usually between salary and benefits, we get closer to the, in the 50%, between probably 55 and 60%. I noticed that the raw dollars amount are probably lower than what I've seen other teacher salaries go for. I think the question's been asked and the school's answered like, look, these are good contracts and these people are excited to be with us. So that's been answered. But I just want to ask kind of maybe what are the staffing plans? And then if you're going to scale up after the school year starts, what confidence can you share with us as far as being able to find other good folks? Because it seems like the people you hire are critical to the kids' success in this kind of a program. They've really got to be effective people. So let me pause there, and whoever wants to respond to that, I'd be grateful.
Yeah, you had posed it for staff or for Thrive Point. So I'd like to start, and that's not because we're trying to sideline Thrive Point by any means. They've been highly engaged. It's just for efficiency and things. And then if board wants to hear directly, from they're here too. So one of the things is we queried about staffing, because that is something that we asked a lot of questions around, is that the coach is really instrumental to helping with the online programming. And so it's labeled as a parapro, but that's actually a coach which supports the online curriculum. And so that coach is in the mix at different times with different students, and then the administrator, the principal, actually also gets involved with instruction. It's a smaller model at this time, 50 to 75. Therefore, what they do in Arizona and has been sustainable over many years is that the principal does administrative work, but they also do instructional work. And so that really does help break up, that type of thing. I do know that their present staff is satisfied and working already on summer school programs and things like that. There are good contracts that are in place. And then looking ahead, you know, to recruit additional teachers, because they may have a problem on their hands in 2 weeks or 1 month where they have 125, right? Which would be a good problem. We'd all agree that'd be a good problem. But it is an attractive to be part of a startup. It's attractive to be a part of something so meaningful, like helping students that are in great need. And it's attractive to have flexibility, not have to report to a classroom in a school building every day. And so there could be a pool of professionals ready to step into this work if they grow, and they probably will grow quickly. So member B's in our board, that staff's kind of questions to some of your or responses to, would you like to also hear from Thrive Point, or how would you like to proceed?
Yeah, if I could, Director Kramer, Dr. Kramer, I appreciate that. I think it's helpful. Could I just hear a little bit from the school? So if we're looking at kind of spreading out 75 kids right now with 4 full-time employees, what does that interaction look like? And can you describe that for a minute? Are they there like physically? Are these online? Is there ability to kind of space it out? Like, I'm just, again, my focus here is in a high need, rigorous situation. I just want to understand what the staffing, how the staffing matches with the needs of these students.
Yeah, you take.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here and to speak to you. And Board Member Biesinger, your question has several parts to it. One of the things I will quickly address is the budget being just 30% in staffing right now. Of course, as we grow those fixed costs, you know, the staffing portion of the budget is what will grow. And those fixed costs will mostly remain the same. So that will start kind of switching or flipping over time as we grow. And then to address your question about how we take these kids who are in what we call intensive care and give them the support that they need to be able to be highly engaged in earning credits and working towards graduation and then going on to their next big step. In this particular scenario of having, like, let's say 75 kids with 4 staff members, first of all, the kids are not on campus all day, every day. They come, so there would never be a time likely that they would all be there with these 4 staff members at once. Although even if there were 4 staff members, that is still a lower ratio than it would be at really most any other school. But that would never happen, that they would all be there at one time. So when the kids do come, they start by meeting with their coach, and in those coaching sessions, they are never more than 5 or 6 kids to a coach at once. Even when our enrollment is much higher, we keep our ratios so that kids come in and meet with their coaches, and they're there for 2 hours at a minimum, twice a week, meeting with their coaches, working through the 2 current classes that they're working on at that time. And then we also have time during that 2 hours where they are meeting with a certified teacher to go through their academic coaching. This is, or their academic workshops. So this is not related to the courses they're in. This is where we do testing on the kids to see where they are academically. And then they are given MTSS intervention to help them be able to really access the curriculum, because most of them do come to us behind in grade level, credit deficient, and also testing wise they're behind. So they do get a lot of support. And in this particular scenario where we would have just 70 kids, our principal, she is also a certified multi-subject credentialed teacher, and she will also have a caseload. So these kids will always get the servicing that they require. I hope
Thank
that
you.
helped. Yes.
No, and when you say coach, I think you in that context, there's one coach like but I think every staff member in that, as you described it, would be kind of in that coach role at that point, right? Like 5 or 6 kids there. A teacher
will
could be a
have
coach.
Yeah, everybody will have a caseload,
Okay.
of course.
Okay, great. If I could just maybe finish off mine.
Yes.
My other budgeting question is, one of the things that's non-traditional about this is, in our last board meeting, it was described that sometimes a student's going to start at Mountain Heights or another school, and they're going to come to you for a period of time. And it was described that the dollars could follow them, right? So maybe a school could be, it would be 50% enrolled with you and 50% somewhere else, or they would be with you for 4 months or 5 months out of the year and then return to that other school. My understanding is staff has kind of tried to run that to ground and found out that those dollars, that is representative of what happens. My question with that then is, when we look at the break-even budget and just the feasibility of this school, it appears that the break-even budget is based on full-time equivalent enrollment, meaning that so you may actually have 100 kids, but some of those kids may not be with you full-time. So I guess I would just direct this maybe to Dr. Kramer, but I just want to understand and confirm that when we talk about the break-even budget is 72 kids, like some of these kids may not, well, it sounds like the kids that are there now will be there for the year because they've already enrolled. But as we scale, they could have kids for 3 or 4/12ths of the year. And so is staff comfortable with this kind of back and, kind of, they get in the school, they get the support they need, and then they maybe return to their original school. Is staff comfortable with that? One, I guess, just verify that's accurate. And then is staff comfortable with that as far as just the analysis that's been done with budgeting, and particularly the break-even budgeting?
Thank you. Excellent question. And you're right in that the money follows the student in Utah, with the main idea that state money goes to where the school is enrolled. So that's an important, just overarching, aspect to this. It's hard to model this financially because ins and outs of students is hard to financially model. And so I think you almost have to conceptually think about the question and respond to it conceptually. And so if you think about 72 students today that are enrolled, it is very likely that their intent is to start on day one and to be enrolled throughout. They are choosing this school not because of even the urgency or the necessary, emergency needs, but they have learned about the school. They are wanting to enroll in the school. And so you have 72 day one through last day of school, full-time enrolled students. And so if you conceptually think about that, that's a really positive, that's a net positive thing. And so then any students that come between now and the first day of school will also fall into that category. And we can assume that the trend will continue to go from 72 to 76 to 88 and whatever it might end up at. But those students will also be enrolled in the school the entire time. Then you might have students that the first week of school, they come to Thrive Point, maybe a struggle or maybe not a good fit, maybe at quarter break or semester break, and that's okay. Not the entire amount would follow for the entire year, but that would be, again, hard to model financially, but easy to understand conceptually, as that would almost be gravy on top of what was already being budgeted. So we do feel good about the break even. Scaling it back from 200 to 70 was a big deal for us, and they did that without any prompting. So
I guess my only follow-up to that, and then I have just one more and I'll be quiet. That's good I'm glad staff's looked at that. I think it is a little tricky if you're going to have a kid for part of the year to figure out how you're going to pay somebody for a kid that may not be there the full year. Like, I'm not sure. I don't think I need to get into those weeds today, because my scope here is just to really look at readiness to open, and it seems like that trend. I think my questions have been answered, but I just think if the school does move forward, I'll just be interested as a, as an interested party in how the school navigates staffing needs in a high needs situation for when a possibility you may have a student come in for only a partial amount of the year. So it just seems like maybe there are folks that would like to be involved in a teacher capacity in that role. So just an observation. My last question is for the facility, and this is just, I think, a quicker one. My understanding from receiving answers from staff is you do have a facility. I looked at that. Looks like it's a very low cost. I'm grateful that good work in finding a facility at a low cost. I think your lease has no escalations, so that's very positive. But I just want to understand it again. For now, it seems like it fits, but as you scale, because you believe your numbers could get into the hundreds, is your facility, as it is currently secured, equipped for you to scale, and what's the maximum your facility can meet as you have different students in there? Like, how is that accounted for, and when do you hit basically a point where your facility probably is stressed?
Would love for the school to chime in, but this is what I heard when we talked. And so when I heard when we talked is because the model is different and you don't have classrooms and you don't have a brick and mortar and a school that needs to accommodate, 75 and now 200 and now 320. Instead, it's a central office, a place where parents can physically come to handle their enrollment questions or academic questions, where students can come, but not all students are all present in the building. So our understanding, and again, we'd love to hear you chime in, but that the lease of this building accommodates any number of staff, students, parents that want to physically come to Thrive Point between 75 and the full enrollment. So it accommodates, it's an accordion type of building that meets any of the needs. Yeah.
Yeah, we have all confidence that this building will accommodate up to 450 students. Because many of them will be completely online. And we always encourage our kids to come in person. So we hope that we can get as many of them as possible to come in person. We do have data that shows that when we do get them in person, we do have higher engagement. However, this facility is actually quite large. We're really happy with what we have to work with as a starting point. We've started schools with much smaller square footage, and this one is very well equipped to handle up to 450 kids.
Okay, thank you.
And
That's
we
all.
would love for board members to please come visit us. We're just down the street from your beautiful facility. So, and anytime, you're all welcome. If you choose to allow us to go forward, which we very much hope that you will. We would love to have any of you come by our facility and meet staff and see kids. And as you know, we already have kids in summer school, and it's fun to have kids on campus and seeing kids making progress already. So
Thank you so much. And thank you for those questions, Member Biesinger, and to staff for providing some additional information, which I think very on point. Before I share some more thoughts, other questions, comments from board members? Okay, so with that, I just wanted to just follow up on Member Biesinger's questions, because a few of them really resonated with me, that I think again, our focus today is on the readiness to open. And for us, the enrollment was a critical point that we were concerned about. And I do think the trajectory is very helpful. I also, and that information that was shared, and the break-even point. And I think it is really important for us to acknowledge that attrition is real, and that 72 students today might be 68 next week, could be 90 the following week. And then I know, I can remember as a charter school director, and this was decades, a decade or so ago, but we just would be like, please don't draw, hold on till October 1st, right? Because those numbers are critical, because the numbers do equate to having the financial resources to enact the vision. And it is, I really also appreciated that this school serves a critical need for us and for our charter school community to have an alternative to allow these students to really be on track to graduate and still be part of a community and be in a supportive environment. My thoughts are connecting here. And then I will say, and the other piece that resonated with me is, as we're talking about budget, the staffing piece is real, and having to be responsive in a time. I hope that the numbers really equate to needing to hire more people, and where it is very challenging to hire teachers. And I would say that the stated salary that's currently in that budget is extremely low. And you're going to have a hard time, I think, at a time of need, hiring a quality teacher that's going to be able to deliver what you're hoping to students that really are high need. So, I mean, these are just the thoughts that I'm thinking about that I think are valid, not necessarily directly impact the readiness to open, but just as us being responsible stewards of a school that we want to set up for success. I'm thinking about all of this. So I will say I'm excited about the numbers. I'm excited about what's happened in the last few weeks. I think that speaks to the need. And also, I think again, what you shared with us in terms of the trajectory and what has been shown in other circumstances. So this is a unique situation in a school that we haven't, that definitely has not come across, my purview since I've been on the board. I think it's complex, and ultimately we want the school to be successful. So with that, so I'm just going to stop there, and I would like to encourage a motion so we can move forward, and we can take it from there. So if a board member would, again, we can see that we have on screen here a suggested motion. We also have other motion options available to us.
Chair, do you mind if I go ahead?
Please go ahead.
So first a quick comment and then a motion. I made a motion at the last meeting, so I feel like I ought to do the same thing again. I echo your comments. I see great challenges ahead for this school. At the same time, I really, really want to see this school succeed. And I do have a lot of confidence in the team that this school is assembled. I'm confident they can pull this off. I really, really appreciate the effort that's gone in over the last several days since our last meeting in answering questions we had and in helping our staff understand that this school is on track. I still have lingering concerns about enrollment, but this is such an unconventional school that I don't know that those concerns are ever really going to be resolved. But I have sufficient confidence based on what's been presented that I think I can get behind this school. So I'd like to go ahead and move that we certify in writing to USBE by June 30th that Thrive Point Academy is ready to open, that we believe enrollment is on track to be sufficient to meet the school's financial obligations and put in place the school's charter school agreement.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Is there a second to that motion?
I will second that.
Okay, a second from Member Bassett. Thank you so much. Any discussion to this motion? Great, Member Beasley.
I appreciate my colleagues on the board's comments, and I think I'm right there with you, and I've learned from all of you in this process and others. I'm going to vote yes today because I think what I'm being asked to vote for is a readiness to open.
Mhm.
And I think that for me anyway, they have met that hurdle. I share the same concerns, and Chair Spiker, I appreciate your comments. I didn't say it as well as you did, but I won't state the salaries that were shown to us, but I frankly think that they're really low, and this school seems to really going to be successful with great teachers that can connect with kids that are, for whatever reason, at a challenging inflection point in life. And thank goodness I wasn't frozen in time at 15 or 16 years old, and maybe some of you feel that way too. We all deserve help, especially in those important years that this school's focused on. But having said that, so I would encourage Director Smith and the school, if they can hear us, to really, as you scale, I would hope you would move the first available dollars to really helping make sure you have a solid staff, one that you can keep, one that will really be great. And it sounds like in your world you're familiar with how to find these good folks. These are extremely valuable public servants in a way that are really helping these kids. The trajectory they face, if they can get on a little higher trajectory, will change their life, versus one where if they just don't get on a graduation rate. I mean, the statistics are just so poignant in helping these kids. So I like that this is a support for charter schools. I think it's a good add to the portfolio. It is not without nervousness. I'm a yes, but I think I'm being asked today to vote on their readiness to open. And I'm going to do that in an affirmative way, and I am rooting for this school to really thrive. That would be my comment here. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Biesinger. I would be amiss to not say we are hoping that Thrive Point just thrives, right? So thank you for saying that. Any other comments? Member Pulsifer, I see that you've unmuted.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have concerns as well. Maybe, as has been mentioned a little bit, the long term, maybe less, as has been mentioned, readiness to open. Could they open and make it work? I really appreciated Dr. Tonks's comments, because they went to something that I have been thinking a lot about, and staff has mentioned that our state, Utah, doesn't have a something like this statewide, but Utah doesn't have statewide programs in general. But I really appreciated Dr. Tonks's comments that most districts, all districts, have alternative programs, and so they handle it. What doesn't happen is alternatives for charters, and that really, her comments made a difference to me. I don't think that this program will grow or act like it did in Arizona or like it did in Nevada, because they're very different in the way they're set up their districts and so on. It's just a different situation. But do our charters need this? And the MOUs are helpful because it does show charter schools that recognize a bit of a need and go back. And I think maybe with the MOU, you have some back and forth that might be helpful. Again, I'm not sure how it's going to play out long term, but is it something that we could say, go ahead and, your readiness to open, you're okay to open, and see how it goes? And of course, easy to see how it could be really helpful, but anyway, so those are my thoughts. I have had some very concerns and still do, but it might be okay to say, let's see what happens. You're ready to open. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you for sharing those. I think we're resonating with them for sure. Member Biesinger, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to add anything else?
No more.
Okay,
No,
worries.
thank you. But
No
I
worries.
echo Member Pulsifer. I thought Dr. Tonk's comments, with her background and expertise, that was really meaningful for me too. And
Agreed.
knowing, I think we've heard from a couple of schools that they would appreciate another tool in their tool belt And so I think that was well captured. I'll mute.
Excellent. Thank you. Agreed. Member Bassett, just, I feel like I'm in class, but it's fantastic. I just didn't want to not, provide you a space if you wanted to make any comments before. I know we have a vote on the table or a motion on the table.
Thank you. Happy to weigh in. A lot of what I'm feeling has already been expressed. Some concerns, but optimism and hope. And I do and will be voting affirmative. I think I know I'll be voting affirmative, but I'm doing so because I believe that that threshold, that readiness to open has been met. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. So with that, we do have a motion and a second on the table. I would like to go ahead and call for that vote. So all those in favor, could you, Andrea, could you share the screen again, or just, I see you, I just want to make sure, I just want to say the first part of the motion as I'm saying this section, as we are just going to do our vote. Thank you. Okay, so I would like to call for, we're going to vote to move to certify in writing, as you can see, to the Utah State Board of Education, that Thrive Point is met their readiness to open. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And I'm also in favor. Any opposed? Okay, great. The motion passes. Thrive Point, congratulations. We
Thank you.
are excited. Also, and some of my colleagues have heard this before, and I mean this in all sincerity. My kids, when they were young, used to love watching My Little Pony. And one of the ponies used to say, "I'm nervous-sighted." And that's, I think, how I'm feeling. We're nervous and also excited. So that is in full transparency. So to staff, we're excited for them to be able to support you, and and to be able to serve our students across the state and charter schools that are needing this support. So thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. So with that, concludes the business that we had today. Director Kramer, anything else that you would like to add before we adjourn today's meeting?
No, we'll take a break in July. We'll see you on August. It's in August.
August 14th, I think, or yes.
Yep, August 14th. So thank you.
Awesome. So with that, since we have no more business, I'm going to say our meeting is adjourned. And with that, thank you all so much for giving us your time this morning, for your insights, and just the questions we ask matter. So thank you for the powerful questions, because it helps us make informed decisions. Please enjoy your weekend. I'm heading to Bear Lake. I hope all of you are going to have a great time. So thank you all so much.
Feel free to join us at the Riverton Rodeo.
Oh, that's right.